End of year, we are wrapping up this year talking specifically about core regional locations that have capital growth. We're going to be looking at an area that is a hotspot that may have some run left. We're going to be looking at a second wind market, a market that's kind of heating, that's gone and done some amazing stuff, and then is now dropped off a little bit and coming back for another round. And then we're going to look at a warm spot. Where is the pure opportunity here? And then we're going to specifically go line by line, not just what suburbs, but what pockets of which suburbs are going to allow you to buy the best property that you can. So that's what this session is all about. This session is done with Jef and I. It is the last one of the year. Thank you all very much for your time, your energy, your effort in being a part of this community. Like and subscribe, share it with people, take advantage. The fact that you're listening to this so close to Christmas tells us that you are the type of people that we like to hang around with, that we like to hear from, and that you are making stuff happen. For those that don't know us, my name is Joe Tucker, and we have Jef Miles. We created Oz Property Investors. It's Australia's largest property investment community. We got over 85,000 members. Each week, we interview top property experts. We have our property investment course called Level Up Property, which teaches you from absolutely knowing nothing about property investing to creating a $150,000 passive income. But each week, we interview top property experts, guests, legends. We talk about data, research, analysis, and how to do this kind of stuff. So this session is no different. It's an amazing one. Check it out. And let's jump in, guys. Enjoy. Have a Merry Christmas, and we'll see you next year.
We're live on Oz Property Investors. Bring the big names and we have the big fun. Wow, this is the huge last session for 2025. And we have bought I feel we're bringing the absolute goods. We are doing something we've never done before, going across the country, 3 locations in 3 different states. So you're going to be treating yourself tonight because it is going to be fun. We're going to WA, then we're going to Queensland, then Victoria. So stay tuned. You have to stay tuned to the end. So are these markets the ones that you want to be still considering? Is there still some legs? That'll be some of the hypotheses we'll be throwing out there. But first, Joe, how are you going?
Mate, I'm fantastic. I'm pumped for the session. Like one of the things that you don't hear too much on these podcasts and these shows are actual locations and actual kind of boots on the ground insights about what's going on in these areas. And everyone's like, just buy here, just buy here. And it's like, well, do you know about the reactive clay soil that's going to mess out the foundations of the property? No, that's all good. Don't worry about it. Okay, cool. So when you re-stump it, you're going to have to pay X for, and do all this kind of stuff. So I'm not wanting to go into that much detail, but I really wanted us to finish the year off with a bang. We've shared a lot of value throughout this community, and please like and subscribe and do all of that kind of stuff, because this is the kind of stuff that we bring to you weekly along with amazing guests and people. But the problem with investors is they buy the wrong property at the wrong time. Timing, people are like, oh, you can't time the market. You kind of can. There are ways for you to understand when the market is kind of getting towards its peak. And there's still opportunities there. And then there's opportunities that are kind of in a warm spot, massive opportunities there. And then there are properties that are in a hot spot that is moving quite fast right now that might be in a second wind. And those are the types of markets that we're going to be covering off throughout Australia at this in this session. I'm excited, Jef. How are you, mate?
Yeah, good. I was down at the beach for those who saw my post today. Got down to the some celebrations today. So sorry for those that you are still in the office, but no, going well. And look, it's I thought things would have started to slow down by now, but they're not quite. Like I'm just really hanging on, not by a thread, but no, it's fun. And I think these are the sessions that I saw that Totality regional report, and I thought this is an opportunity for us to dive into some of that knowledge and also impart some of our own expertise and information there as well. So it's going to be fun. And what I wanted to also say before we go too deep and introduce, I'm interested to see how your intro goes for me as well. But first off, this information is general in nature, not taking into account your personal needs and objectives. Go and speak to your financial advisors, your brokers, your accountants, your financial planners, and all that. We're not liable or responsible for any loss arising from recording this video. So, Joe, why don't you do you want to introduce me first, or who's?
Oh, well, mate, sure. I'll introduce you. Guys, if you don't know who this guy is, what are you doing? This is Jef Miles. He is a mortgage broker of an amazing brokerage firm called Step Up Loans, which allows you to get finance. And finance is the key part of this business, key part of the game of property investing. Without finance, don't even bother looking for a property. You are wasting your time. One of the key things that we're probably going to talk about is building out a brief and a property plan in some ways to be able to navigate that. But Jef has settled hundreds of million dollars worth of loans. Yeah, you're getting there.
Tens of millions, Joe. Let's yeah. I've been busy, but not that busy.
You've been not that busy. He has run risk and compliance for some of the big four banks as well, works for the government. He's done some of the fun jobs that we all wish we could take on. But in doing that, you understand risk. In doing that, you understand finance. And that's a big part of property investing. So welcome to the show, Jef Miles. Oh, and you're also the co-founder of Oz Property Investors and the amazing Level Up Property. Actually, just last night, we had our student session where we do a coaching call every single week for all the students, and we will be touching on some of the stuff that we covered there, but not too much. So if you guys want to check that out, join Level Up. Become a
check
expert,
it out.
property investor.
Well done, Joe. You missed property renovated multi. Yeah, that's okay. You did really well. Have to do another.
He's done renovations. He's done developments.
Yeah,
what can't Jef do is really the question I have.
Probably a few things. But what I was going to say, drop your location as well, because we'll aim to get to some of those as well, in addition to the ones we've pre-selected. So the first one I'll say though is Albany. But before we get to that, we need to tell Joe, for those of you who haven't seen Joe floating around, you're an accomplished professional, 15 plus years of sales, research, and negotiation experience with property and legal tech. I call it prop tech. Prop legal tech, I don't know. You're an active in property investor with your own multi-million-dollar portfolio separate to the Oz Property Investors 150K portfolio. And you've now gone on to helping, along with co-founding Oz Property Investors, you're helping investors sort of do it for them with your founder of Property Principles, and you've done over $130 million worth of deals now, I think. So the blueprint is now, that blueprint is, maybe could even be 150 million, but who's counting? Maybe 200 million. Yeah. So you're now also powering Level Up Property. But Joe, first off, let's actually talk to some of the reasons why, the important things behind. Let's share that report, because I think that's really pivotal to. It's like a 60-page report, but you want to take us through this totality regional market update from November.
Okay.
So it is behind a paywall, not a paywall. Sorry, it's behind they want your email address for it. But yeah, it's worthwhile popping it in there anyway as well. So Joe, have you seen this report?
Yeah. Australia.
I'll pop it in the comments. So,
great idea. Yeah, but you just have to add your email address to Cotality, and then they email you every single week, every single month when these reports come out, and then they ask for your email again, and it's really annoying. So what exactly is this thing, Jef? How would you describe this report?
Yeah, so for me, it's really the around the grounds to understand exactly what's going on in terms of at least data. I'm going to say exactly, like it gives you enough to be dangerous. What I would then say is you really need to go. You're going like an inch wide and a mile wide and an inch deep kind of thing. This is kind of the founding point for really some kind of. It'll give you some clues. Like we're seeing all these different regions across Australia. So it'll give you some of the information like median days on market. It'll give you median price or median sales price, days on market, vacancy rates, all that information. It'll give you that for these markets and where it's trending. And then you need to sort of actually go a bit deeper and say, okay, right, what are the fundamentals behind these markets? So this is the foundations as the foundational data points. So you can see there's probably about 60 or 70 markets there, I believe. Well,
54 markets that are considered regional. And one of the key things that I want to mention is a lot of what the growth is happening is supply constraints. And a lot of these regional areas have a massive amount of supply constraint, which is forcing the prices to go up. And just because you live in a big city and you live in a unit complex and you've got a spa and a pool, doesn't mean people don't want to live in these areas and that they're not going to push up the prices and they can afford to go and do things and move it from a $400,000, $500,000 market to an $800,000 market quite easily. And if you have a look at the top 10 markets, which I think we're going to do throughout this report, is regional full stop beat the cities. It crushed the cities. It has made the most amount of capital growth. So anyone that says, "Oh my gosh, I need to be close to the city to get capital growth," is absolutely wrong. And what are your views? I mean, let's go through actually. How do you want me to do this, Jef?
So effectively, we're going to unpack 3 locations in the and I don't think we necessarily need to go through it play by play. I just wanted to call out this is a report that has formed the basis of some of this live, so that people really want to. So I think you can sort of start to. This for me is like once you've got your budget, you can then eliminate, for example, if you can't buy in Mittagong, for example, because Mittagong's probably a multi-million-dollar market at least. So this will give you the starting point for your investing journey once you got your finance approved. So that's what I wanted people to take away from this. And then I suppose if you go to about page 55 or 56, maybe around there, that'll actually give us the back of the book when you're doing your maths. And keep going a little bit more down. There we go. Exactly. Yeah. So here's the value. So, and actually breaks it. I realize it arranges them quite nicely in terms of, now this is only one piece of the pie because this is lagging data. Data is generally lagging, of course. So you want to make sure that you're not just looking at, this is like almost looking at the back of the magazine, the property magazine, saying, okay, great, where's kind of trending and what are the things we need to be considering in these markets? And then going, this is the starting point for some of the locations that might be of interest to you. So it goes around the country and state by state and considers all the regions that are, I suppose, significant urban areas that they look at. So.
Well, it's awesome because it allows us to see how many sales there are in the area. So you can kind of rule in and out areas that you're not comfortable with, right? So if we go down to Muswellbrook, they've only had 388 sales. So is that, I might just zoom in a little bit. Is that enough data for you to feel comfortable in the data set to say, yeah, I've got good confidence that this area is going to, it's got enough insights, enough sales for me to see the data correctly and be able to make a judgment call? Or do you need 500, Taree, Tamworth? The other thing is as well is the change in sales volume. So what that means is there's more transactions happening, which means that there's a little bit more activity going on, which is interesting. More people are taking those properties off the shelf. More people are selling, and it gets pretty exciting.
Yeah, so I think that could be one of 2 things, and the other thing that is interesting as well, the median days on market as well as vendor discounting, because the lower the discounting, it means there's not necessarily a correlation between. But if you look at Bateman's Bay, for example, look at that 70 days on market, and it's nearly 5%. 77 days for Barrel Mittagong, and it's 5.4. Like anything that's, if you go down, Joe, to go to one that's in the 20s or something, go to a market, and I imagine the vendor discounting is probably almost not non-existent, but go down to it. There you go. So 3%. Yeah. So Moe and Mildura. So Bundaberg. Yeah. So you sort of see once it gets in the 20s, you're starting to get to less discounting. So that just means that it sells above or below where the listing price is, kind of thing. But the vendor has put the ticket on there. So of course there's going to be some that will get discounted. But what I wanted to also call out, Joe, is this is sort of the second or third or fourth step. You need to go strategy first. Like, what are you looking to do? Is it short-term growth, or is it beyond that? Is it medium to long-term? Which will tell you, then you need to go into that. What can you afford as well? So once you know that, you can start to dive in and speak to the local legends, which you should always be doing to understand that boots on the ground if you're not going there, and go there as well as yourself. What are your thoughts on that, Joe?
This is one of the, this is what we had in the Level Up coaching call, because what I see all the time is people just going out there as property investors and just buying, wasting their time. Actually, a prime example, my brother just bought a property. He just bought a property in PPI where he wanted to live. I'm like, I'll help you out. I'll help you do it. He's like, no, I want to do it myself. That whole pride thing. So he went out there and didn't get finance. And he was shopping around for weeks and weeks and weeks because he spoke to a broker And the broker said, yeah, easy. You can borrow 1.2. Turns out he can only borrow $1 million. So after all of this, he has just wasted weeks and weeks and weeks. And then I gave him a calculator that we use. And I'm like, can you even afford a $1.2 million property? There's no way. Like, I know what you earn. I know how it works. You're not going to be able to afford that. Ran the numbers. And of course, that's why he didn't get the $1.2 million borrowing capacity, because he couldn't afford it. So one of the things that you need to do is establish your budget for what you can afford from a negative cash flow side of things and a purchase price side of things. On top of that as well is if you buy a property for, say, $600,000 and then you stretch to $650,000, you're getting a lot of that as a loan. That actually doesn't mean you're putting in an additional $50,000 as cash. So I see some people saying, oh no, my max budget is 600, but in reality, they can stretch to 650. So anyway, get your finance pre-approval in place and get it locked and loaded. If you're an investor that has a solid income, that knows what they're doing, you don't necessarily need to get pre-approval. What are your thoughts on pre-approvals for someone that's a little bit more further down the track, has a little bit more confidence in things?
Yeah, look, I mean, for me, it depends. Yeah, it depends on which lender you're going to as well. Like some pre-approvals where they just go straight to system generated. All of that's saying is that the person has entered those numbers correctly on the screen. So a human hasn't reviewed your situation. So those type of ones, yes, it's nice to get that sort of little letter saying you can borrow X amount, but it needs to go through a full assessment anyway. Where they're fully assessed, I put a little bit more, I suppose, weight upon those, because then you've actually had somebody look through your scenario. So, yeah, I agree, Joe. It's interesting there's that big discrepancy between. There must have been something between his scenario that didn't quite get picked up, or something. I don't know, but anyway.
Yeah.
So
the other thing you have to do is build out your property brief and to secure off market. So you've got to laser focus in on multiple areas. I've written 2 to 4, actually meant to write 2 to 6. So focus on 2 to 6 areas. I see a lot of people where they're investing in property, they spread themselves thin. They go on a podcast like this, they hear about 3 locations, and then they start researching all of them and they burn out. You have to be laser focused on your specific pocket within your budget that suits. And the Tuesday ritual, well, you need to learn about what that is later on when you join the course. What are we talking about? Sorry, I've got this screen up. Are we talking about the fundamentals? Because I want to start getting into locations, because I realize we're already a good few minutes in. What I wanted to chat through first is what you have to do when you're looking at property is run it through a framework that makes sense. For us, the framework that makes the most amount of sense is fundamentals, analysis, and boots on the ground. The fundamentals, the high-level macro reasons why this area is going to continue their capital growth trajectory. Without that, you're going to buy a property based on data, and that data might be running dry. And then all of a sudden, you've bought in an area that's just going nowhere. Look at this little, where we were at the top, Kalgoorlie, in the middle of nowhere with not too much going on to it, is like top of the pops. It crushed it. Where was it? What was it? Sorry, Jeff. Yeah, look.
Last year, 8.1%.
Right.
Yeah, that's an interesting market, because you sort of say that there's not necessarily there's probably, I think it was like 400, maybe how many transactions, I could be wrong, but if you look at the transactions, there's not necessarily a huge amount of volume, but it is also a market that does have those bigger peaks and troughs. How many Kalgoorlie? Yeah, there's not heaps. There you go. So go down there. So if you look at the number of sales.
I mean, it crushed it there, didn't it? 30% in 2021, and then slides off. So if you bought in here, you're doing really well. If you bought in here, you might not be. Sorry, go, Jeff.
I just wanted to throw a little bit of it, because people are throwing locations left, right, and center, and keep them coming. Won't get to all of them, but I wanted to share. So somebody asked about Murray Bridge. Now I'll just quickly do this, and then we'll get on to our first location, which is the top performer in Australia, which is for 2025, which is Albany. Murray Bridge, though, which is Emma has asked about. Let's zoom in here. So I can see that this is a market, 350. So this is only the specifics, only I suppose the very high level. So change. So there's not a lot of stock potentially being sold. Quarterly change. Look, it's for me, it's kind of a balanced market. Like I know Murray Bridge. Marcy would love it. She absolutely loves regional South Australia. So good on her. If she's watching, give us a shout out, Marcy. But for me, this is a market that if you'd gotten in probably 3 or 4 years ago, you're absolutely laughing. If you still look, it's going to have some momentum going towards it, Emma. It's just then you need to understand, well, if you're buying for 5 to 10 to 15 years, if it depends on what the purpose of you buying in that location is, and you really got to understand the hotspots from the not spots, which we'll talk a little bit about in our second location. But yeah, that's my very brief, high level view of Murray Bridge. Just quickly, so back to you, Joe.
Love it. Framework, fundamentals, analysis, boots on the ground. Analysis.
Oh,
So
right,
fundamentals.
Victoria. Jeez, funny you should. Sorry, I just saw somebody
All
in the
right.
comments. Stay tuned,
Crazy.
Mitchell. You may be treating. Yeah, keep the comments and questions coming as well. Sorry, Joe.
Anyway, fundamental drivers. What is driving that? Is the population increasing or decreasing? What type of employment or employers are going there? What big projects are going in? We had our man, hotspotting legend,
Very right.
Terry Ryder on last couple of 2 weeks ago. And he went deep into how important projects are. So if you haven't checked that out, watch that. Desirability. Is there a reason why people actually want to live here? And then these are all kind of plus, 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 minus the supply of stock, which will soak up the demand. And then analysis is starting to say, okay, great. It's kind of timing, trying to jump in at the right time. So we're wanting to see our days on market trending down, because what that means is there's a property listed and 50 days on market is when it's sold. Okay, great. Then the following month, it's 40. Then the following month, it's 35. Then the following month, it's 30. So we don't look at a property data metric in isolation. We have to look at the trend, and we have to look at it across the board for everything. So one of the markets that we're going to be talking to has a very high a very high renter to owner occupier percentage. And there's a reason for that. But if you have strict thresholds where you're like, I'm not ever going to go above this, you might be missing out on opportunity. So listing volumes, we want to be seeing that going down. Gross yields, we want to see them at what we want. Renter proportion, inventory levels, that's how much product is on the market, and then things of how long it takes to get that stock off the market. Vacancy rate, so it means you can get it rented. Vendor discounting mean the vendor is or isn't discounting their properties. And then supply and demand, which is that. And then the final thing is boots on the ground. So confirm what the data is telling you. While the data is important, it's not the be all and end all. There are regions that I've been to where the data looks fantastic on a spreadsheet, and then I go there and it's absolutely not worth the paper it's written on. The government's got all these big projects, nothing's going on. All the shops are shut up, nothing's happening. It's you got to do that, but you can do that with people and property managers to help have those conversations. But you need to do that in-depth research. Sorry, Jeff.
Yeah.
That was a big
That's
joke.
all right. No, okay, I'm going to rush through my first location. I mean, but so
What is it?
it is. So if you bring our Cotalia report up and have, because I want to call this out, because I hadn't really heard of this location until about, well, I mean, I have, of course, but 2 to 3 weeks ago as a property investing destination, which is Albany. So if you go, so it is the highest annual growth for 2020 2025. So for me,
Incredible.
I just was like, wow, like why were we not considering Albany? Which, if it is actually the oldest settlement in WA as well, it beats Swan River Colony by about a couple of months. But so this place was founded, I think, in
couple of months.
yeah, I know, yeah, but it was just insane that there's this market. So Albany's just quietly been absolutely punching above its weight significantly. So this is not a middle of nowhere back of Burke mining town either. This to me is a location that has 40,000 population, and yet it does encompass a large sort of. It goes over to Denmark as well. So when I say Denmark, it's not the country. There is a Denmark in WA. So it's a huge, significant area. But the fundamentals of so the way we're going to run these is we're going to have the fundamentals of the area. We're going to have the data, and then some of the boots on the ground. And I think the thing that epitomizes how busy this market was. I jumped on realestate.com just to see pretty much most things are under offer in all the suburbs that I'm sort of looking at. So if you jump onto one of the suburbs show was let's see, just trying to see, let's see,
Miramar?
Yeah, Miramar. Yeah, Miramar's not bad. Yeah, but even Yakimiya is kind of yeah. I typically just go to the list view because it's easy to see what's under offer. You sort of see all those things. So look, that's only added a couple of hours ago. I'm surprised that one's not under offer. So if you go down, yeah, keep going down. There's not a lot under offer, under offer, under offer. Almost, I was like, wow, this is a market that's telling me, and there's just not a lot of listings either. So that's just telling me they're reflecting how quickly some of the stuff is selling here in Albany. This is a suburb of Albany. But take it back to so we'll go, okay, fundamentals, and we'll talk to, okay, what does the data look like? And then, oh, that looks pretty interesting, doesn't it? You can see.
Yeah, six
And then
hundred.
we'll
It's
go,
interesting, isn't it? $600,000 for this.
yeah, I
Like
know.
you have the
For
choice to
two
spend
better.
$600,000 for a
on
two better
a
in this
thousand
area.
square meters. So the things that are going on there in Albany, so it does hold a special place in West Aussie story. So as I said, it's the first European settlement established 2 years. Sorry, it wasn't 2 months; it was 2 years ago. It's 4 to 5 hours from Perth. But the thing that I find interesting about this, and not to say that population growth equals capital growth, but internal migration was up 190% year on year. So yes, that sounds great, but I mean from low numbers. So if we on 40,000, so if it goes from 1,000 to 2,000 or 2,500, yes, that's 190%. So, but yeah, so yes, the number sounds impressive, but just always look beyond that. But there's a lot of people moving there. It is a great southern capital. There's $4.7 billion in economic output going on there. So this is not your sort of single horse town. You've got major capital works reshaping the city. Now, I get not all infrastructure projects are created equal. So there's a 225 million Albany ring roads, which to me, yes, it's great. It's a road. It's exciting. It means people can get around. But that doesn't necessarily generate longer term jobs. So you need to understand the thing that gets me a little bit excited is there's a major redevelopment of expansion of the hospital there, $60 million of that. So I looked into that. There's a new modular ward, and there's upgrading emergency services. They're overdoing the whole. They're doing the whole hospital there. So look, that is a timelines are sort of getting pushed back there. The other thing that I sort of see is the desirability. So Southern Ocean Surf Reef Marina redevelopment. There's tourism. There's 363 million in visitor spending going into the local economy. So it's actually quite a picture. I spoke to Ash Goodchild about this one, and she said it's an absolute gem of a spot. So if anybody's been to Albany, give us a shout out. But so the thing that I find interesting as well, and you need to consider these for future potential capital growth, is there's about 1,000 homes being developed in McHale, which is just in the north of Albany. So if you go to McHale, which is probably on the outskirts of town, so there's a lot of paddocks. So yes, these areas have seen a lot of capital growth, but just have a look at how much development stock is potentially coming on in these markets. So that's something that stood out for me. There's a lot of farms and a lot of potential to develop. So that's my fundamental analysis, Joe, that I looked at in terms of Albany. So a lot of
So
things going on.
what do you like? Like what areas are kind of you're vibing well in? If you were like gun to your head, you gotta make a decision around Albany suburb. Like what do you think?
So there's not a lot of suburbs in Albany, actually, Joe.
Yeah.
To be
Yeah,
honest,
there's not
there's
really.
probably,
Yeah.
there's probably about 7 or 8 major suburbs. So look, as an investor, the other thing I wanted to talk about was the economy, because that's important. Because in particularly smaller towns, you've got health and social assistance, you've got accommodation, you've got education, you've got retail, you've got construction, you've got agriculture, you've got a lot of farms there. So this is not purely a one horse town. That's the thing you need to be looking at. Now, yes, it is a population of 40,000. So the areas that I sort of ones of notes, and I'll sort of call out what they're sort of noted for, is that McHale. So that's where there's a lot of development. That's a newer part of town from what I could see. Now, I haven't spoken to the boots on the ground yet, so you need to absolutely do this. But it's seen a lot of growth. It's done like 22% the last sort of couple of years, and it's actually the rental yield is 5.2%. So you're kind of looking at about a high sixes, low sevens buying price. And so you sort of say in a regional town has it done its dash? And I'll sort of give you the verdict on this as I'm going through. But to me, this is a more owner-occupied appeal market, less housing commission. So if you want to learn about the housing commission, you need to jump on things like OpenStats, Microburbs. That'll tell you the breakdown, renters to owners. There's more owner occupiers in this suburb. Another one that's slightly cheaper at around that sort of 500K-ish median. Now, you need to understand the hotspots and not spots in suburb is Arana, which is actually an older part of town. It's in closer to the city of Albany. So owner-occupied percentage is okay. It hasn't seen as much growth, and it makes sense because so it's Orana, Arana. There you go. Yeah, so it's closer into town, and it looks a bit more industrial and gungy. So you just need to be mindful of that. This is probably the highest concentration of housing commission I could see at about that 7 to 8% in the whole suburb. So just need to be a little bit careful. You can buy things a little bit cheaper, but buying in cheap may also be cheap for a reason. So just be a little bit mindful of that. Yeah, you need to. Yeah, it unfortunately doesn't go down to the street level in Arana, but it only
Well, I
gives you
think
the
it's 'cause
whole.
the SA. I think it's because the SA1 is too.
Yeah. So there's definitely a lot more housing commission floating in there. So just be a little bit mindful of that. The other one is Yakamina, which has seen a lot of growth. And this is Yakamina is just to the right of Arana. And so that's again, you're buying in about that 680. So that's a little bit more expensive. So sandwich between Mikhail and Yakamina is Arana. So yeah, that to me is there's potential here to put granny flats on potentially. So you need to understand demand of these as well, and understand the planning requirements and all that. But you're looking at 800,000 square meter blocks, so bigger blocks in these sort of newer parts of older parts of town. Sorry, as well. So that's kind of the areas, the major areas. Look, there's the $1 million plus places as well. For me, I wasn't as interested in those because I just don't have the budget to be buying those $1 million places closer to the marina on the coast, like Collingwood Park, for example, Port Albany. They're the ones that you're seeing like significantly higher median prices. Like you're talking sort of 900 to $1 million plus in those areas. So that's my insights into it. My overall view is that there is some opportunity there. You just need to understand that it's pretty much done 120% over the last 3 to 5 years. So it's seen significant growth. You need to just be mindful. If it is a hotspot, it 100% is a hotspot. Like you're seeing everything
Yeah.
under offer. So yeah,
So
that
I
to
guess
me.
I guess like the way I think about these markets are like there's opportunity for flipping deals, right? If a market is incredibly hot and you can buy, renovate, and sell that property and flip it, then you'll be able to jump in and jump out quite quickly. But if a market has done, what did you say, 120% over the past three
I've
years?
got it here actually. Yeah. So Mikhail, for example, has done. Just trying to see. That's done 107%, 60, nearly 70% the last 4 years. So yeah, 110% in the last 5 years. And Arana hasn't done quite so much because it's done 40. Well, yeah, actually Arana, because there's not as many transactions going on in that particular pocket anyway as well, because it's more industrial focused.
Yeah, got you. There's a great question that's popped up here. Is it a good or bad thing when there is a lot of land that can be developed onto the future? Could it be negative because the supply is so large?
Yes, can be negative for sure. If your time frame is 5 to 10 years, 5 to 10 to 15 years, you just want to be mindful of that, particularly in a regional market of a population of 40,000 people. I mean, that's I suppose my view, because it's not to say it's, for me it's like an amber flag. It's not 100% screaming red flag. It's something that if there's any other, like there's no one metric necessarily to not do it. But to me, that it's seen a lot of growth, that you're seeing that potential developable land supply. What do you think about this, Joe?
Well, I mean, it's just straight. Like there's no debating this. Property investing is the balance of supply and demand. If
Yeah,
there are 10 people looking for 5 properties, the prices will go up because 10 people will be fighting it. So if there's 20 people at your auction and there's only one property, the prices are going to continue to go up. Now, in terms of auctions, I guess it doesn't really matter because, a lot of people are underbid. So really there's only like 2 or 3 people that actually can afford that property, but there might be 10 people there to get a little bit emotional. So, but no, it really is the balance of supply and demand. So what we're talking about here is an area that has a whole bunch of land supply. What that does is you want to be buying in the internal areas where you can't, the supply cannot continue because it's constrained. This is why Sydney is such a crazy, has moved up in so much price, is because we're hemmed in by the Blue Mountains. We are stuck by the ocean, and and then you've got national parks surrounding it. So everything is getting smushed in. Um, yeah.
The other thing that once it starts to get profitable to build, because that's the other challenge that people are facing. Like if it's
Yeah.
costing you 400 to 500,000 to build a property, a developer's just going to say, "I'm going to wait until I can actually make money out of this," and then they're not silly either. They won't flood. I mean, if they're smart about it, they won't flood the market. So they could release probably a lot of stock and that's what we're seeing. Nearly 1,000 dwellings coming on the market potentially. So you just need to be mindful that if you're buying too far in the outskirts of town, you might sort of and there's a lot of similar stock being developed. So I'm seeing I saw that happening a little bit in Albany when I was searching. So look, there's still a little bit left in the tank. It is absolutely a hot spot at the moment. But just if you're buying with a mindset of 10 plus years, yeah, just be maybe that's not the market for you. That's my mindset. So
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
the auction.
Just to like, I don't know if I said that the answer so well. I just wanted to illustrate it with a little image. Um, like this is kind of that supply and demand equation, right? Where there's three people, one property, price is going to go up. Two people, two properties, the property market is going to not move very much. And then one person and three properties, the price is oversupplied. But this is what to get into. This is what when anyone talks about property data, like you're not looking at you are looking at numbers on a spreadsheet, but you're looking at human psychology and human movement. So when you start to see days on market trending down, that means stuff is flying off the shelves faster and faster and faster. And then you see vendor discounting. So vendors aren't happy to do discounts anymore. Why is that? Because they know that they can get a good price. So all of these things start to lead to human behavior to tell you about the demand equation and the supply equation for you to work out, are we oversupplied or are we have we got way too much demand and way too much supply? So I guess what you're saying here, Jef, is the Albany market is a market that has moved substantially. There is still some potential. There may still be some potential for some quick wins, but substantially, there might not be that much left in the tank.
Wow, that's what I'm sort of seeing, at least in terms of yes, like it starts to get to the stage where if you're paying, like there's potential for more stock to come on the market. So yes, there is people moving there. There's not tens of thousands of people moving there because we're talking a population of 40 to 45,000 people. The rental yield's still quite decent actually in parts of town. Like they're talking that sort of that high fours, low 5%. So the rental yield is still there because people, and that's in particular with the
Gotcha.
older style. Yeah. So let's go on to our second. Let's fly across to Queensland. Joe, where are we
Ooh.
going next?
Well, I wanted to jump in and ask this question because there's a lot of great questions in, and I'm a little bit concerned that we won't get to them all. So we'll kind of sprinkle them throughout. Buying regional or interstate. This stupid timer. Buying regional interstate, does that limit your options a lot since you can't really target properties that are auctions? Finding a lot more of good stock auctions now. What are your thoughts on that, Jef?
I'm just trying to change this timer. Here we go.
Yeah.
Created it. Oh yeah, here we go. Anyway,
Yeah.
because it's here we go, save done. So my view is, look, I've personally only ever bought a couple of properties or seen a couple of properties bought at auction. So I'm not like I haven't bought too many properties in Sydney or the blue chip of Melbourne. We're talking like there's a lot of auctions around that sort of you sort of
Mm.
Kensington, those parts of Melbourne where Flemington, they do auctions all in the east over there because they love them. For me,
Yeah.
I don't get all that excited about auctions. Like yes, there is the transparency, and yes, you can pick
I
yourself up
love
a
I
bargain
love an auction.
potentially. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just think like it takes away a little bit of I suppose, the element of surprise to some extent. Like you kind of you almost put yourself in a lucky dip and say, okay, who's going to turn up on the day? And if it's a hot market, you get 4 or 5 people turning up, and all of a sudden your max is 1.05 million, and somebody bids 1.02 million. What are you doing next? You just throw out your 1.05 million, and then it goes past it, and you're like, okay, or maybe you won't. Yeah, so I don't hate them. I'm not a huge fan. It doesn't perturb me either way. The thing that concerns me is the unconditional nature. Like I think about things through a
Mm.
little bit of a finance lens. So if you're going to go and bid at auction, just be very very certain and button up on your finances because otherwise you're losing your 10% deposit and potentially more if you can't complete the purchase.
Yeah. But so I guess this person's question was more about locality of, well, actually, let's go buy. Like, how are you going to buy at auction? The phone, the phone. So I've bought a number of properties at auctions, and all I did was say, "Hey, Mr. Agent, I'm in. I'm good. This auction is going to happen, but I'm not there, and I want to be on the phone. So I will either have a representative there to be on the phone, or I just get
Just
the
call in.
agent's lackey. Just get
Yeah.
the agents there. There's usually an auctioneer and the real estate agent, and then they'll have some, subby that, that they're learning the ropes, and then you just bid through them. So you
Do you know,
can,
Joe?
don't rule that out.
I had somebody bid from a cruise, like, and they had to get like international roaming. So this is during the week, and they missed out on buying the option by $500, and I was like, oh, geez, that's insane. But yeah, they'd already stretched well beyond where they should have been buying anyway. So the $500, I was like, okay, but no, okay. So location number two, where are we
Oh,
flying to, Joe? We're getting in our plane, and
yeah,
you're
shit.
presenting a lot of this one. So I'm passing the footy over to you, or passing the ball over,
Okay.
going
So
straight to
the
Queensland.
next area that we wanted to chat to was an area that is Australia's second largest inland city. So this is an area that people might know, a little bit about Brisbane. This area is west of Brisbane, a place called Toowoomba. So we actually spoke about
Also known as T-bar.
what's that? Oh, also known as T-bar, also known as T-bar. So one of the things that I wanted to mention in all of this is we are not saying go out and buy these areas. We are not saying don't go out and buy these areas. I'm not saying that I do buy in these areas, and I'm not saying that I don't buy in these areas. However, we're going to just look at some of the numbers, the facts, and the macros that's going on so that we can understand if this is an area that might have potential in it or that might have already run its dash. So this area here, Toowoomba, is an area that we would probably consider a second wind market because it's done really, really well over the past 5 years. However, the demand is still incredibly strong here. So we had Terry Ryder on here, and this guy lost his mind when he told everyone that there is a $2 billion hospital that is going into this area, right? $2 billion. The economy for Toowoomba itself is 15.14 billion dollars. The economy overall, and they're going to spend $2 billion on a hospital. Now, that hospital doesn't exist. I mean, it does exist. It's there. They're upgrading it. They're adding new things. They're adding public and private and doing all of that kind of stuff. But it's not finished. So there is a hospital there. You get sick in Toowoomba, you're going to be okay. But from a macro perspective, that's going to be massive for future potential. So that finalizes in 2029. So that's what you can expect. A massive, again, $31 billion inland rail link that is going to connect a whole heap of Toowoomba to the rest of the world. And then maybe you can get into Brisbane faster. Maybe not. What else? A massive solar project. Now, I don't really kind of like what Jef was talking about. I don't really like solar projects too much because it's $1 billion, right? So if you added it up, all of the infrastructure spend, you'd get really, really excited. But a hospital brings nurses, doctors, surgeons, specific, well-trained, educated people that know what they're doing and making a lot of money doing it. And also, it also brings orderlies, the people that push you through. No disrespect to them. They're on a different salary. So those people need to live somewhere as well. It is in the heart of town. And then we also have St. Vincent's private there. So you've got the public and then the private lined up there for Toowoomba. Population in 2021 was 173,000. And for
Bigger than,
2030.
bigger than the Northern Territory, isn't it, Joe? Yeah,
Oh,
it
is it?
is.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah. Bigger than
Crazy.
the entire Northern Territory?
Definitely Darwin, but maybe not Northern Territory.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. I think it might be. It might be the whole. Yeah, 233. Yeah, it's bigger than Darwin. So that's cool. One of the things to note for Toowoomba, if we go into our area, this gives us, there's a platform, it's a free platform online called openstats.com.au. You can check that out. It has really good mapping. Toowoomba. Let's head on over to there. We can spell it correctly. Toowoomba. So if we go in here, one of the things that you will notice is that the private rentals are all in red. So this is kind of what I was talking about. So we like Toowoomba because of the major infrastructure. The employment is very diverse. We got health and social assistance, education, retail, construction, manufacturing. It is not a one-horse mining town. It is a massive behemoth. They are upgrading a lot of the TAFE, and they're also upgrading the town centre to make it a little bit more engaging, a little bit more exciting. They also have a cool garden. What is it? Toowoomba. So any local would know about the flower festival. So there is a little bit of tourism there that's bringing in about $1.3 billion, which is quite nice. It's got an airport base that they keep banging on that they may upgrade it and may make it better. But it does have a nice little business park in there as well. Yeah. Anything else that you kind of note there, Jeff?
No. I think you covered a lot of it, and I suppose the other attractive thing is they are getting investment as a result of the Brisbane Olympics. Now I don't know exactly what I imagine. I don't know if they're having what event they're having out there. It could be like you could easily Google it, but they are definitely doing some events out there for the Brisbane Olympics. So they're investing in a lot of these regional, like Ipswich as well. Which Ipswich is, I know, closer to town than Toowoomba is, but there's a lot of activity that's happening in there, and that's because I'll admit that I wouldn't say necessarily completely wrong about Toowoomba, but me, I thought, well, look, how can it keep growing up? It's going up, and I think that the data still looks pretty promising, and the other thing is it's just still seeing that the supply is so low. So there's also that the Olympics, that excitement and the investment going on that people are, yeah. So those are my views. I think there's some pockets to be a little bit cautious of. Equestrian, there you go. It makes sense because it's a semi-rural sort of location, despite being 140,000, like equestrian
Yeah.
and all that sort of stuff. So, what are your
Well,
thoughts? The boots on the ground, Joe. What do you reckon?
Well, yeah, this is this is one of the things I'm trying to make the screen as big as possible so you guys can see it. But just look in the top right hand corner of the screen as we hover over and have a look at the private rentals. So that's one of the things. So just I can't. Oh, hey.
Get rid of our faces. There we go.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. So in the top right hand corner, you see rate 1 and then percentile 2. Just look at rate 1, and then the second one down is it says 40% and 40.06%. So if you have a look into Toowoomba, there is a lot of areas at 41%, renters 41, 35, 54, 43, 35. As you start to zoom in, it gets even worse. This area here of what's this, is
It's Newtown.
70% private rentals. One of the things that I think is very, very important when looking at this data is don't just rule a place out. This place has 58% renters. Now, one of the things I bet that we will notice when we go have a look at this area here. Now, this might be a little bit more advanced. Like the reason I'm talking about this is because I hear a lot of investors that would just rule this area out. And to be honest, at 70%, I would rule it out as well. But what I would say is just be careful of how you look at these things, because what you'll notice is there's a lot of units and townhouses in that pocket. So I'm going to illustrate that point by doing something I haven't preloaded, but it's looking at the Housing Commission in a specific area and what the data says and what the reality of that data says. So I'm going to actually leave Toowoomba and go to an area called Deception Bay. Everyone, so I think we've already spoken about I own property in Deception Bay. But where's the area? I'm just going to bring my other screen up. So what I've done is I've charted out all of Queensland of where every single housing commission house is. And when you look up at this little SA1, so there's a thing called an SA1, which is around about 100 to 400 houses.
I don't know.
Around about 100 to 400 houses. So there's this little area up here on the Bateman Street that has 41% private rentals, 10% public housing. So what that actually looks like here. So this little section here, 41% private renters and 10% public housing. So it sounds like there's a lot of public housing here. But if you have a look, well, there is. If you have a look at this public housing, my map doesn't have chicken pox. Every single one of these red dots is public housing. So you might have a threshold of, say, 10% public housing for yourself. But in reality, the housing commission is actually in these pockets up here. So if you're buying along these streets, there's literally no housing commission whatsoever. So you would see that these pockets here may be a better opportunity to buy. So what I'm trying to say, long-winded, is don't always trust what you see on a spreadsheet. You have to dig to that next level of due diligence and data. So any questions, Jef?
No, and I suppose that there's not like people have tried to prove that public housing decreases capital growth. I don't think it's conclusively been proven. Like you do need to be you do need to be careful, particularly with renters. Like if you're buying an area that has more, you might get some rougher. Not to disparage anybody, but you might just get some tenants that might be so just be a little bit cautious. But
housing. I don't know. Housing commission for me is a bit of a scary one. Not like the less money that you have, the more loose you can be in your rules. The more money that you've got, the harder you can go. So what I wanted to do now, I'm not sharing my screen. Am I sharing my screen? Oh, I am sharing my screen.
Yeah.
What I want to do is start talking about boots on the ground and specific hot spots and not spots in Toowoomba, because that's what we promised here, guys. We promised in-depth data and due diligence on these. So anyone that lives in Toowoomba, what are your guys' thoughts on this little pocket here that is called Champagne Crescent, Chardonnay? What else is there? Shiraz, Cabernet. These streets are called wine streets because guess what? They're made of wine. So this area here, and we'll probably see it in the data, this area here is a little bit of I guess we can't tell people where to buy and what not to buy, but just be careful around here. Look at this, public housing 16%, public housing 13%, public housing 17, 41, 45. So doesn't look so bad, but these are some of the pockets where there is a little bit more, having a bit more of a solid reputation. A lot of social housing density. There's a little bit more police presence around here. There is a stigma that bleeds into the perception of the entire Western Fridge. So I'm not saying avoid this pocket at all costs, but do your research. Wilsington Heights as an overall suburb isn't that bad, but just there's a lot of difficulties there.
Yeah, you sort of start to go west of Drayton Road. It can get a bit challenging. It's kind of the way I typically divided it. So Drayton Road, people like their booze.
Which one's Drayton Road?
You just punch it in. It'd definitely you'd be west of Drayton Roads down further to Harristown.
Yeah. Okay. Harristown. Oh, yeah. We're in a different suburb here now. So west of. So what are you saying? West of. Well, actually, I'm talking about Harristown now. So west is best, or west is not best.
West is worse. Well, I mean, depends. Yeah. It's sort of disproving. Like as we see, there are pockets where it's a little bit less, less challenging. But
What a quality. That's a good statement. It's a question. People like their booze in those streets. Okay, well there you go. He's right. They like Chardonnay. They like wine. They like vino. So again, we're going to be talking about areas that are a little bit rougher. And you'll see this in the price. Actually, I wanted to give some more practical takeaways for people to go out there. So it's not just us talking and saying, hey, go out and do it. I wanted to show you some of the things that you can do to just get your head around the area. So if you just type in like Toowoomba and have surrounding suburbs and then have houses and then just go as low as possible. So sort it by like what is $500,000 of a house that has 500 square meters of land that has a minimum of 3 beds. Like where is that? And you'll start to build out the more affordable pockets of the areas. So
Pretty much nothing.
well, nothing at 500. That's probably not. So then what you do, great. 500 is not possible. Let's go to 600. No, okay. Well, this is disproving my point because this is very chicken poxy and spread throughout.
You have to go to 750, 800 to start to get some good.
I'm surprised actually it's such a spread. Anyway, the whole point of what I was trying to show you is that you would see a lot more in this more affordable pocket. So it's a massive mixed bag of industrial around here. So you'll see that as we go on to here. There's a lot of social issues that are throughout Harristown. One of the things to mention as well is the Smithfield estate around Smithfield Park. So Gasroy Street, this area here is a little bit nicer. So just you can't West what was it, Wessex Street? Where's Wessex Street gone? So you can't paint one suburb with an entire brush. There are opportunities. So Smithfield has these lovely 1970 owner-occupied homes. So just saying the entire area isn't an absolute must or an absolute bust.
Yeah. So I'm gonna we can't go into this detail for the third location, Joe, because we're already at an hour. So we have to there is the third location we promised, which is probably the one that people what might be a bit surprised about. Maybe they might not be. But
we're in the cycle. Okay, while we're talking about Toowoomba,
they lost Joe. He's done.
What am I doing? Clicking the wrong buttons. So where would you say this property is in the cycle right now? So where would you say the Toowoomba market is in the cycle? So we had Albany, that's a real hot spot, kind of at the tail end of potentially the cycle. And then what's the second one? What's Toowoomba factored in at?
Well, to me, it's kind of like as you say, it's a second wind market because I would likely have seen it start to cool by now, but it is starting to pick up, and that's because it's just that there's that imbalance between supply and demand. There's just so many people moving to Southeast Queensland and surrounds because of those Olympics, because of the lifestyle, and because it is still relatively affordable, and because of what's going on there. So I think it's sort of experienced a renewed vigor. Like if you pushed a lot more stock into that market, it would probably become a lot more of a balanced market. But at this stage, it's still just not a lot. What are your thoughts, Joe?
Well, actually, one of the things I realized, I said, hey, there's a lot of renters and renters versus owner occupiers that's out of skew. The reason why that is because they build a lot of duplexes and unit blocks there. So it's one of these things that you have to be very on point with. So in terms of a market, where is it in its cycle? It's one of those second winds. It's been going very solidly for the past couple of years. You would have made, we were buying there $400,000, $500,000. Those properties are now $700,000, $800,000. Where the opportunity is probably within that $650,000 to $850,000, I'd say. I think if you do get some properties, like you have a look at the areas that have the more amount of land, there's some really good development deals that you can land bank and get a killer opportunity because it hasn't been fully developed yet. So I think there's real opportunity here if you go about doing it the right way. So solid market I give it a plus.
Yeah, that's probably more. That's probably like a. I don't know if they like when I was chatting to councillor a couple of years ago, they weren't. It's not that they were anti-development, but they opened up a little bit, Joe. Or are you still not sure?
What do you mean? Oh, development wise? No, you can get developments through. I mean, it's just case by case and all that good stuff. Like they need to start. I mean, the government. We won't talk about development. Get me on my horse.
Okay. So first ad, and then we're gonna dive into our last spot. Yeah, we're already at an hour, so it's been cranking through. So we'll get to that first, and then come back and reveal the Victorian location because I'm excited about this one. It should be interesting.
Do it.
Everywhere you look, someone else is making money in property except for you. Your mate, he just bought a house that's already gone up $100,000. There's some bloke on Facebook, he's bragging about pulling in a 7% rental yield. Meanwhile, you're stuck scrolling real estate and domain, confused as hell and having no idea about where to start. Or maybe you're that mate that's got $100,000 in equity. You have a few properties under your belt, but you feel stuck. You're unsure about how to scale without over-leveraging and not knowing what the next right move is. So why does it feel like everyone else has some kind of secret that you're missing out on? It's because they do. There's a reason some people keep stacking properties while others sit on the sidelines stacking excuses. There's a reason why some investors buy under market value while others pay too much. There's a reason why investors know the hot spots before there's any heat. And there's a reason that some people build $150,000 in passive income while others just spend years thinking about it. And it comes down to knowledge. And that's exactly why Jef Miles and I, Joe Tucker, created the Level Up Property course to hand you the exact step-by-step process that we've used to buy over $100 million worth of property in today's market. We've built Australia's largest property investment community with over 80,000 members, and we help everyday investors secure hundreds of thousands of dollars in equity, all without wasting years of their life trying to figure it out the hard way. Making an uneducated decision on the biggest purchase in your life is just gambling with your future.
Stop it. Get some help.
And this isn't just another how to buy property course. Let's be clear though, this course isn't free. And neither should it be. This is our life's work. We've spent over 100 hours each on this course alone. Oh, babe. Okay, video number 3. Number 4 with million does... Done. We've got decades of experience, millions of dollars in deals distilled into a repeatable process that you can take away for yourself. If you're looking for free advice, there's plenty of noise out there. You can go and find that if you'd like. But if you want real, actionable, step-by-step guided process that works in today's market, then this investment is going to change everything for you. By the time that you finish this course, you will have full confidence. You'll have every tool that you need to build an amazing portfolio if you act on it, right? Which is why we have mentoring built in. So we kick you up the butt to make sure that you're kicking your goals. So the real question is, how much longer are you going to watch everyone else making money in property before you jump in and start playing the property game properly? Because the sooner you start, the sooner you start winning.
And we are back.
Yeah.
Winning 2026. That's what we want to see as many people do. So, Joe, I want to call out to the audience. If you guys have questions that you want to ask, you have the opportunity. We'll do a bit of Q&A because this is our last. I'm excited for 2026. This is our last session. But, Joe, throw those questions. We'll answer as many as we can. And through the locations, we'll get to 1 or 2, maybe. We'll see how we go. It won't be an in-depth show down to the street level. But where are we going? We're flying down to Mexico, the southern state of Australia, not the most southern. But we are going to Victoria, Joe. Where are we going in Victoria?
Mate, we're going to Victoria. We're going to go to one of Victoria's largest regional areas. This is not a town. This is not the middle of nowhere.
BF.
This is BF nowhere. And actually, one of the things that I find helpful, like I'm trying to give these practical tips for people, is like if you don't know much about like property investing, if you don't know much about regions and stuff like that, what you can do is just go onto Google Maps and where you zoom out really, really far. And I'm trying to visualize this so you guys can see what I'm actually talking about. And you'll see, okay, great. Well, we've got Queensland, we've got Northern Territory, South Australia, Victoria. Great. You zoom in even more. Oh, wow. Okay. There is Melbourne. And then the major capital there is another major capital city, not capital city, but another major area is Geelong. You zoom in again. Oh, Shepparton's added to the list. Maybe I'll check that market out. That means it's a larger market. You zoom in again. Ballarat, Melton, Werribee, Frankston, Traralgon, Warrnambool, Hamilton, Bendigo, Albany, Albany.
It's like me, Lavington and Laverton. I mixed those two up a little bit.
Anyway.
Yeah, well, it was really
the area, the region that we're talking about is Ballarat. That's the area that we're talking about today. 60 minutes. It's going to take you 60 minutes on the train to get to Melbourne CBD, which is commutable. Populate. That's what it says.
That's amazing, Joe. Like you wouldn't be able to travel like 10 to 15 kilometers on the ring road. I mean, I don't know what Melbourne's like these days, but back in like 2017, 2016, it would take you an hour and a half to go 10 kilometers. So that's amazing. So the V line, they're doing a good job. The infrastructure's good. Before you get into a big spiel, I wanted to throw this out there because I reckon Teddy owns in Grovedale because Teddy, I swear I see this comment every couple of weeks. Thoughts on short to medium growth of Grovedale? Look, I think it's going to probably go pretty well, Teddy, depending on what you're buying and also what you're buying and how much you buy for. Like if you're paying 750, 800 in Grovedale, depending on what you're buying, that'd be, yeah. But if you're buying a reasonable, yeah, I think there's a lot of interest in Geelong. Back to Ballarat,
Yeah.
Joe.
Yeah, that's a good point. So Grovedale is in Geelong. It's more of an established like owner occupier pocket. It's definitely not the cheaper end. But yeah, it's a nice little, do your boots on the ground, baby, and find out what this place is all about. We're going back to this macro. What are we doing? Macro fundamentals, like we were talking about before. So we're starting to look at, what is the population, right? So the population forecast for Ballarat is fantastic. So 114,000 as of 2021, 2036 is 144,000. And then they're going to jump that up from 2046 to 164,000 population. Exactly what we want to see. So it's not just a one-horse town, massive diversified economy. It's regional, like gross domestic product, which is like how much output it is. So we had Toowoomba, which was at 15 something billion dollars. And this area here in Ballarat is $7.8 billion. They're having a massive hospital redevelopment as well, $655 million, which is looking good. They've got 2 universities, which is an amazing large base for your beautiful students. A lot of government infrastructure spend as well. So they're not messing around here. They are upgrading the transport. They are doing an events precinct upgrade to make this place look nicer. One of the things about Ballarat, and I think we spoke about this actually not too long ago, is that it's its own city, right? It's by itself on its own situation where the people that live in Ballarat don't need to go to Melbourne. They don't need to go anywhere for anything. There is nice lifestyle here. And then there is lovely little bits and pieces. It's diversified. And really, the market has not done too much. So over the past 5 years, but neither has Victoria. And this is where there is opportunity, right? We were buying heavily and talking about heavily WA 3-4 years ago. South Australia, buy now. This is the time to buy. You listened, you'd be up hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. But it's like running a marathon, right? I just ran a marathon. No, I can't run a marathon. I got a fractured hip. But pretend I ran a marathon for, 22 kilometers or 21? What's a marathon, Jeff?
42.
42?
Jeez. Yeah.
Good luck. Go on, sorry, mate. Yeah.
Yeah, half marathon's 21 and a half.
Righto. 44. You've run 44. You've run 40, whatever it was. And then you get to that line and then you've got to then go run another marathon. That's kind of what you're expecting if you're buying in WA right now. I'm going to go in and buy in a market that was $400,000 that is now $800,000. That market has grown 100% in the past 3 years. And I now expect the people that live in this area that 3 years ago were at 400, I need them to double that money again. So take it to 400 to 800 to then take it from 800 to $1.6 million. Do you reckon that's going to happen?
Can I give you a controversial take on that? Like, I think if you're buying in those markets, it's not so much. It's more nuance, I reckon, because I agree mostly with that take. Because let's just say your Armadales, your Gosnells, your Rockingham, buying that sort of 350, 400, 450 now that are now at 700, 700-ish, expecting those to go to 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, probably very unlikely. I think where there's opportunity now is in that middle part of Perth. That kind of that 800, that more established bluer chip. Now, I'm not necessarily saying buying blue chip, but that's where a lot of owner occupiers are now, what I hear, picking up the slack. But yeah, it comes down to what your requirements are, because it's harder to hold those type of assets at that price point. But yeah, I agree with that, Joe.
Thanks, mate. Okay, we've got some comments here. Let's throw this comment. I haven't actually read it. I'm just going to throw it up.
Dominguez.
Mr. Dominguez, he knows, in Ballarat, stay away from the western suburb with lots of greenfield developments. Best to invest in more established areas close to town and the lake. Interesting, spicy. This is one of the things that you will notice with Ballarat. It's not finished. So this is exactly what Daniel is speaking about right now. He's saying, guys, look, there is a lot of land supply that is going to keep getting built out. And this is just cookie cutter crap. No offense to, anyone, but it is small, 3-4 bedroom houses that take up most of the block of your 400 square meters. And there's no supply constraint. Someone will just unlock this little thing here. So we want to be buying in the areas that are a little bit more established so that this, you're closer into town, you're closer into all the action. But Jef said I was talking too long. So what I wanted to do is talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. So there is a area called West Wendouree, which is separated by this
road.
What is it?
It's the main road. I don't know the name of the road, but yeah, it's definitely you can see that. The interesting thing as well, Joe, because I've been tracking this market now for 3 or 6 months, or even longer. You started to see the prices. Like I think people are thinking they're getting bargains in these locations, and I think the people that are really doing well is the people that bought 2 or 3 years ago and had bought really well, and they're not realizing they might be buying it sight unseen, but yeah, they're buying in pockets that. You're thinking, wow, that's interesting that's now at 500, 550 in West Wendouree.
Yeah. So that's pretty much it. Now, I don't want to sound crass with this statement, but West Wendouree is what people consider the ghetto. So the market in Wendouree is very binary. It is literally separated by a physical and psychological boundary, which is this main arterial road up here, which is Gillis Street. Anyone that lives in Ballarat will confirm exactly what I just said. So this kind of sets it out. The streets that have flower names are some of the ones that have a little bit more of a a little bit more of a stigma. Police data. Have a look at some of the. Oh, actually, let's look at the police data. Actually, now the thing is, I don't want to get so like. There is opportunity, like everywhere there's opportunity in property, but you just don't need to accept the risk. So break-ins, it doesn't go detailed enough, unfortunately. So that's not a valuable to call my point. So just be careful of those. It's just a little bit rougher is all. So East Wendouree, so we're on East Wendouree. This area is quite nice. So it gets a bit of a spillover from the Lake Wendouree. So this is a really cool point of, don't buy in Wendouree because that's what someone tells you. No, a suburb, like suburbs, actually it's like Albury and Wodonga. I think we spoke about this before. It's not actually about anything about the suburb name. It's actually pockets within. So it doesn't matter about the geographical boundary of that area. It's about the pockets within the area. But what that does, any data nerd out there will tell you, well, what are you talking about, Joe? Because that screws up all my data because I want to buy in Wendouree and I'm just going to buy because the data says to buy here. No. You need to do your boots on the ground. You need to do deeper research. You need to go to that next layer, which is confirming where are the areas, because buying in the West is going to be cheaper than buying in the East. You may be better off with a long-term tenant to be able to get what you need to get from there.
What are some more? Are there some more, I suppose, suburbs around Ballarat that where you're seeing some potential interest, Joe? I'm asking you a tough question here.
Yes.
Maybe,
okay. So bottom left, down in some of these new estates. So this is some of the interesting information. Some of these newer estates down here are not very good quality properties. So like to give you a bit of an indicate, like, so just be careful of when you're buying these new estates. You got to look at them. So some of them, all these brand new houses, they have super small kitchenettes. They have one living space, 115 square meters as a house on tiny blocks. It's just rubbish. Where's an area that's not so bad, but has a lot of stock on market is Winter Valley. So if we go into Winter Valley, but yeah, not saying buy there or not buy there, you know what I'm saying. These are a more established and nicer like dwellings, if that makes sense, than some of the other ones. Another one is Sebastopol. I think we spoke about that last.
Sebastopol. So go to Sebastopol.
That's definitely a favorite.
Yeah. So it does have a lot of high renters in Sebastopol, as you will see here. Oh no, you won't see here. So the data's. Oh yeah, here we go. So pocket specific. So it is. It is one of these areas that feels like a renter's area. There's a lot of houses down here when you grow, and you're like, oh well, there's not really much upkeep here. So not to say that area is or isn't gentrifying. But yeah, just one thing to factor in. The other area that's very interesting is Alfredton. Some very in the established pockets. Don't go too down into the not established pockets, but very nice properties in there. More established. So yeah, in here, like we directly north, like anything around the lake is very, very pricey. So that's all nice product, nice stock, very good properties, but obviously are much more expensive. The other thing to mention is just townhouses. Don't bother. Just don't bother in townhouses. Don't bother with townhouses in Ballarat. It's not an area for them. It's not an area for that type of product. What you could do, the opportunity might be to build like a block of units or a rooming house around like the around the university. But when it comes to townhouses, we're not established enough here to be able to have that as value.
It's just a cheap, like Sebastopol, you can probably pick something up, like maybe not 450 these days, like probably 500, 520, 530, maybe a little bit more depending on what you're buying. But you pick something up for that, like to build a townhouse, unless an old one, like why would somebody buy, not why would somebody, but it's unlikely somebody's going to pay like 350, 400, 450, etc. for a townhouse. So you go and buy a house in the burbs of Ballarat. Yeah.
Actually a really good comment from Matt here. Capital growth doesn't discriminate either, but of course it's better to get a better location for various reasons. So like we're talking about stigma. There's areas that have grown absolutely spectacularly and have had amazing capital growth. That are the areas that just I wouldn't want to live there. I wouldn't want to put anyone there. Areas like Franga North, to be honest, that's an area where you're going to get some fantastic capital growth, but you're going to have some tenant issues as well. Like if you look at the capital growth, I don't know what, it's not off the top of my head, but the capital growth for Franga North would have been pretty good. It might not even be in the data yet, but from the prices 12 months ago, from what we were seeing, have absolutely skyrocketed. And we knew that it would, but the problem that we have is, 18, that's ridiculous, isn't it? 18% in the past 12 months, this area, which has an incredible stigma. Do not buy here. There is too much housing commission. This is terrible. So it's grown 18%. So if you've bought a $600,000 property there times 18%, it would now be up. Would that be up 108 grand? Is that what 18% is?
Yeah, 20% is 120. It's easy.
Made
1% is
$108,000 because you didn't listen to all of the bullshit other people are telling you. Which is kind of like,
you might have got your house burned down though, so I don't know.
Yes, so you might have your house burnt down, and there may be a little bit of meth, just a little bit of meth here and there, just So you need to have a little bit of a. Sorry, not all of Franga North is methy, but it's just saying, just going back to his comment, right? Capital growth doesn't discriminate. Of course, it's good to get better in locations because you're trying to rent it, you're trying to property management. But if you don't have the money, you're forced into some of these more affordable pockets. You have to deal with these things. Not my first, but one of the first properties that I purchased, I did a renovation, bought in an absolute dive property that was collapsing. It was a 2-bedroom property. I needed to re-stump it. What did I do? I got it underneath the house. So I jacked it up with the car jack, and then it put a little, like I went to Bunnings and got one of these like steel things and just put it under, and it was good to go. But that property constantly got broken into while I was doing the renovation. Not while I was there, but I'm like, I can't live here because there's holes in the roof. But anyway, that property has now grown incredibly well and sorted itself out. That was good.
I reckon we throw to our second sponsor, and then we'll
Oh.
wrap it up for 2025.
Final
I think.
thoughts.
Yeah.
Answer some great questions.
Yeah, throw some questions or even locations or which part of North Franga is not meth. Oh, Brian.
Exactly.
Wednesday night, 'cause it does drop night.
Oh, Jeff, I wish there was 3 investing books that covered everything property.
Oh, Joe, there is. Steve has 3 books now.
That I do, guys. I got 3 books now. You probably don't even have to follow this group anymore. Just kidding. You want to keep seeing and hearing from me, of course, so stay involved. But in all seriousness, if you want to get the full picture of investing, residential, commercial, and development, these 3 books have you covered for the fundamentals. For AusProp members, here's the best part. I'm giving these books to you for free. Just cover the postage and I'll send them right to your door. Go to policeyproperty.com or click the link below and get your copies today. You can also get all my spreadsheets, checklists, and resources free on my website. Happy reading, gang.
We are back. So, if people want, we could probably do a location or 2, Joe, for the questions. But whilst we're getting to that, I just want to say, so Matt said, have a great Xmas Legends and all the best for 2026. It's going to be a big one. It's going to be a fun one. But I wanted to, what are our sort of expectations of what you're sort of seeing for 2026? Is it kind of same but different kind of vibes are getting? Is that where we're heading for next year?
Man, it's so buying property right now is so difficult. Like it's so hard where the areas that have like stack up from a data perspective, it's so hard to buy right now. Like every year it gets harder and harder and harder. And I'm not seeing that slowing down. There is still not, the government has not changed the supply problem. Supply is still incredibly tight. We still have a lot of immigration coming in. So unfortunately, property prices in regions that are stacked up to take this population, but also have the interstate migration back to them or to them, unfortunately aren't going to change. So I think the affordable end of the market is where you're going to see a lot of price growth. So kind of that, well, it's not entirely affordable, but like 600, like 500 is going absolutely nuts. You just can't, you have to overpay if you want to get anything in there. But 600, 700, 800, 900, I think is where you're going to see a lot of price movement, where everyday Aussies have dual income families that can push up the prices and afford to say, you know what, I'll push an extra 20 grand. That's exactly what happened to my brother when he was buying his property. He's like, you know what? Well, actually what happened was he went and bidded. He's like, this is my max is $1 million. And then he ends up bidding 117, I think it was. That's my absolute max. The real estate agent calls up his wife, and then his wife says, okay, I'm going to 100, whatever, 1,022,000. Turns out they were bidding against each other. So they weren't in the same place.
What a strange, what a very strange real estate agent. I don't understand. Like, wouldn't you just, they don't speak to each other? It'd be like, oh, hey, like, are you bidding? Like, how did they not know?
He doesn't care, does he? If he gets the number, like the agent's playing the game, he doesn't care. This is the funny thing.
But I'm just like, mate,
make hay.
I mean, I can just imagine. Yeah. I don't know. I'll ask you about it after the thing. But I wanted to say, somebody on the YouTube said, how about a townhouse in Franga North? They don't really exist, to be honest. So I literally jumped on realestate.com and Intrepid Traveller, and maybe he knows this, but there's literally no townhouses that I've seen. I'll jump into the sold section, and let's see what. I mean, unless I'm typing the wrong search term, I'm just trying to see.
I saw a crazy rooming house that sold for an absurd amount of money in and around that area. Can't exactly remember where it was. Or it might not even have sold. It might have just been like for sale. But that type of, actually, you know what? This is a very good point. One of the things is people talk about gentrification, and that means good people are moving to this area because they're getting houses and they're doing them up. They're making them nicer. So what that means is, what's the inverse of that? Well, the inverse of that is bad people are moving somewhere else because the good people are coming in. then where are the bad people going? And that's kind of what are these hot spots and not spots, right? Like where are the areas to avoid? And I don't want to say bad people as if it's like, like that. But if you say good people are moving in, that means you're saying bad people are moving out. So you want to understand where those people are. But I think this is where we start to become like where the real opportunity here, as this affordability keeps rising, we are going to see opportunity in townhouses and units and rooming houses and these small affordable blocks that people don't have any choice but to live in, but they want a roof over their head and they want to push up, they want to buy something and they just can't afford $600,000 for some shit shack. I reckon that's you know what, that's my 2026 prediction. Watch townhouses and unit prices go absolutely gangbusters over the next 3 years.
Well, yeah, supply and demand. I mean, I think it's harder for that to do in Brisbane because they already have done that in Brisbane. Like, yes, house prices. Like, up in the north side of Brisbane, you've seen townhouses go for like 600, 650, 700 in places where the house price is now sort of 800, 850. So, yeah, in Perth as well. I don't know so much about Perth because it's already, yeah, it could do so. Let's see. I reckon maybe Sydney, there's some opportunity there. There's some opportunity for that sort of thing. I just looked at there's almost no transactions happening for townhouses in Frankston North. So look, if you've got a big block of land and it's feasibility stacks, maybe that's where you do some developing. But you have to run the numbers. It's a different game once you start developing. So maybe there's opportunity there. Let's have a look. There's no more questions. So here we go. No. There are many RHS there.
Rooming houses.
Houses. Oh yeah, yep. Only units and houses there. Yep. Of course, yeah. So not many townhouses. Look at the unit price growth for Brisbane recently. Yeah, it's gone up quite a lot. That's happening in Perth already. My unit went up 9% just in 1 month. There you go. It's a big jump. So look, for me, Joe, I'm sort of seeing that interest rates are probably, unfortunately, not going to go down, I don't see, unless something funny or ridiculous happens in the global economy. I think that for now, that horse has bolted. So those people that are holding out for rate cuts and inflation, yeah, unfortunately, or just kind of thinking that maybe that's going to give spring some relief from debt that they've got. Hope maybe, unfortunately, buckle down. But yes, sorry.
Well, yeah, you got to manage your own budgets. But if you can buy and you have the ability to buy, you've got the capacity, and you haven't got your pre-approval, go get that. But if you've got money and you're waiting for interest rates to drop because the RBA said something like, "We're not going to raise interest rates. We're going to raise interest rates," or they were playing a little bit coy. They were wording it very specifically. These are the same guys back in 2020. Was it May 2021 or May 2022? Couple of months before, they said, you know what, guys, we're not going to raise rates and we don't expect to raise rates for until 2024. What did they do? May 2022, I believe it was. They raised rates 13 times consecutively just after saying that. So like, just don't believe what they say. Have a look at the more fundamentals of where we're at as an economy. But, we are, inflation is starting to look better. So, hey, there you go. Maybe. But that's not the only driver.
Inflation is looking rubbish, actually.
How is it?
It got in the target band, so that's why they're not cutting rates. Because, that's why they're talking about increasing rates. I think there's a bit of a lag here. So what I was going to say is, I would be very surprised if any Reserve Bank of Australia governor ever said we're not going to cut rates for X amount of time or we're not going to increase rates again. I would be extremely surprised if they say something like that.
No, they did. But, they said it's unlikely that we'll raise it's unlikely that we'll make a change in 2024. They said that, but they won't say it again. They will never say it ever again.
Well, yeah, they said it. Phil Lowe, he got absolutely grilled. So the new Reserve Bank, what's that? Yeah. So look, there's not a huge.
No more questions, guys. If you got questions, throw them in. You had your chance. I don't know. I kind of like this session. I feel like we went more macro fundamentals and then boots on the ground. We didn't actually go the data side of things, which I think is actually okay because I think that's where people get caught up. It's like, okay, cool. What's data? How's data work? The blah, blah, blah. But they don't do that next layer of due diligence for the boots on the ground. And that's why don't people take action? It's because there's uncertainty in something. And the uncertainty is where to actually buy and what pockets to buy in. So I hope we've helped a little bit in some of those pockets, areas to be aware of. But these things that we've just spoken about, this is 3 to 4 phone calls with property managers asking the right questions at the right time. That's how you get this stuff. This is, there's a lot of this stuff we teach in the Level Up course. We give you the transcripts, we give you the things to say that you can negotiate deals. But Jef, anything other final thoughts you wanted to think about on this one?
No, I suppose I just want to say, to your point about property managers or real estate agents, if you're not getting cut through, just ring the next one. Like, I know that's, and of course you have to be dealing with, if you're getting a property manager on the ground, you need to have somebody who's got some experience and some runs on the board for sure. But just figure out a way. If that person's not picking up the phone, just flick them a text and just say, hey, look, I want to take 5 or 10 minutes of your time. I'd love to see what we'd love to do some business together. I'm looking at property in the area. When's a good time to have a chat? Or what's the best way to get in contact with you? Just figure out there is a way to make it happen, because I had a bit of challenge contacting the property managers as well. So even somebody who kind of, and I was like, if I had a little bit more time, I would have texted them and actually arranged the time. But there's many different ways. Just flick them an email, call the next agent. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year for sure. So 2026 is going to be a huge year, but for all of us and beyond, we're sort of into the second half of 2020, the 2020s now. So if you've been saying since 2020, next year's going to be my year, next year's going to be my year, make it happen. 2026, like put a post up, as long as you're not trying to spruik something, but put something up and say, hey, look, guys, hold me accountable in the group, and we'll sort of see what we can do. I can't promise. But Joe, what's the, if people want more of Joe in their life, how do they get more of Joe in their lives?
Well, easy peasy. You just reach out to me and I will say g'day, and we can talk about property investing. Just jump on my website. I run the Buyer's Agency Property Principles. Jump onto there, book a call, see if there's a fit. We don't take on 1,000 clients. We don't have 1,000 clients at a time. The other thing is, bloody check out the Level Up Property course. I feel like I've mentioned it enough in this session, but for people that don't really that want, just like, you can spend hundreds of hours on YouTube. Don't spend hundreds of hours on YouTube. But there you go. There it is. There. How do people get more Jef in their life though, Jef Miles?
Well, they're going to have to wait till the 12th of January if they want it. But no. Look, it's been amazing chatting to a lot of people. Look, Step Up Loans run the. Look, whether you're doing it in 3 months, 6 months, or 6 years, I'll have the chat. Look, I can't talk to you for 8 sessions in a row. But yeah, love. I actually just love hearing where people are going. Like, to me, an hour and a half phone call to see where people is just exciting for me. So putting my hands 100%. Up. Oh, here we go. Francis put her hand up. 2026 will be a pivotal year for me and my family. There you go. That's 2026 and beyond, Francis. You're going to make it happen. It's an exciting time. So no, thanks everybody. Units and they will increase in just capital cities. I don't know.
No, not necessarily. Well, you need to look at the fundamentals, right? Like townhouses, there's not many townhouses in Frankston North. Does that mean there's an opportunity for townhouses in Frankston North? Maybe. Like, is that an undersupplied product?
Not a great,
but also, if you think, like, there's a lot of shit shacks in, like, no offense to Frankston North, but there's a lot of old, outdated housing commission houses that may be getting converted into normal established houses, which are just basic bitch 3 and 1. 100 and odd square meter places that aren't very laid out well. Like, if you've got a brand new townhouse that's brand spanking, 2 levels, 2 bathrooms, 4 bedrooms, hey, that product might do well. But anyway, cool, great session. Thank you very much for all of your support throughout this throughout the year, guys. Merry Christmas. Thank you very much, Jef, for the effort that you've put into this community. It's been a pleasure and a privilege over the last 5 years, 6 years of doing this with you. So thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you as well, Joe. And as I'm going to finish this off this year, maybe not. Actually, you do it, Joe. You do it better. I do.
Let's go buy property.
Let's go buy property in 2026, everybody. Yeah, you do it better.
See you, boys.
Much better.
See you, girls.